I made my first visit to Taizé this past week. It was a short one, just under 24 hours, but I'd been hearing about Taizé for so long and I've been wanting to go, and the opportunity came, so I took it. I promise this isn't a commercial for the congregation's upcoming trip there, but I do have to tell you that it's well worth your time to go and visit this community and this place sometime. This past week happened to be a particularly busy and bustling time at Taizé. The community is marking lots of big things right now. It's the 100th anniversary of the birth of Brother Roger, who founded the community. It's the 75th anniversary of the community's founding, and the 10th anniversary of Brother Roger's death. So lots of things to mark right now. There are special workshops and events going on all over the place on the themes of joy, simplicity, and mercy, which were sort of guiding principles for Brother Roger and remain so for that community. And attending these workshops are thousands and thousands of young people. The place looked a little bit like a massive outdoor rock concert to me. There were swarms of people everywhere in their teens and 20s laughing and gathering in groups on the grass. Sort of like a rock concert, but a pretty strange one, where the people speak in many different languages and sing in four-part harmony and observe extended periods of silence during the meditation and worship. It was a spirited and hopeful gathering, and I'm glad I got to drop in for a glimpse. But the whole time, I felt like something was a little bit off, something a little bit strange there. There was something kind of otherworldly about the place. And I couldn't put my finger on it while we were there, but when I was in the car on the way home, I realized what it was. In the time we were in Taizé, I never saw a cell phone. And I'm not kidding, 7,000 people in their teens and 20s, and I never saw one come out. You can call that a miracle if you want, but it's what I saw. I remember now that there were signs around prohibiting them, and I can understand why. The focus of the week was on joy, simplicity, and mercy. And while smartphones have lots of good and very worthwhile uses, they're not of much use when it comes to those things. Smartphones primarily deal with information, and joy, simplicity, and mercy deal with wisdom. It's no secret that we live in a time that is pretty well saturated with information. Advances in technology have made the gathering of information possible in incredible new ways and speeds and volumes. It's there at our fingertips, at our computers and our phones 24 hours a day. Information about any topic you might possibly have on your mind, information about your friends on the other side of the world, information about the problems we now have with all the information there is. You've probably seen pictures of the data centers that are popping up all over the world now. Giant warehouses filled with lots of blinking lights, servers that are storing all this data and information that we are generating and now collecting, largely through the internet. They're huge high-tech garages where we park massive amounts of information. A recent article I read said that a single one of these data centers can use as much electricity as a medium-sized town. So data is accumulating like crazy. A whole new industry is growing up to manage it. Human beings have never had access to this kind of information. Some of it very valuable, of course. But information and wisdom are not the same thing. Today's text from the book of Proverbs is a poem about wisdom. I don't know if you've encountered her much in the Bible before, but she's there. Not just in some general, ethereal, wise way, but actually as a character who pops up from time to time. Proverbs imagines wisdom as a woman who was there at the beginning of things, who was God's companion in creation, who was a master worker alongside God, and who took great delight in human beings. And in today's reading, she set the table for a big meal. She's ironed the tablecloths and put out the good silver. She's prepared the food and set out the wine, and now she has sent her servants into the city with a message. Lay aside immaturity and live, and walk in the way of insight. Now, in one way, that can sound like just about the simplest message you could come up with. Stop being immature. Be insightful. be wise. It can sound a little bit abstract and even a little bit cranky, like a bossy older sibling with those universal older sibling words, come on, grow up. But I think there's more to notice here. To begin with, I think it's worth noticing that wisdom comes with an invitation. And that's pretty different from how information approaches us. You don't really need an invitation to information's table today. I'm not sure he sets a table at all, in fact. I think it's more like he walks alongside us, day in and day out, with one quick snack after another, usually to be eaten on the run. Wondering what the weather will be like on Thursday? Information can help you out with that. Or what the name of that song is that you heard on the radio and that's been buzzing around in the back of your head all week? Information is on top of that. Or what some random blogger thinks is the ideal diet? Information has got you covered. He's always there, and you don't even need to stop what you're doing to spend time with him. But wisdom, on the other hand, invites. She's a little bit formal that way. She calls people in from the street to stop what they are doing, to pause, to listen, and to join her for a meal. Her invitation is for everybody, everyone who might be passing by, but you do have to accept it. You have to stop hurrying. You have to stop checking things off your list. You probably have to stop tweeting. You have to take a seat at her table and eat and drink. If information is about facts and figures, wisdom is about what to do with all of it. Wisdom is about laying aside immaturity. It's about living a good life. So all right, Proverbs, we might be saying at this point now, we're ready. You've piqued our interest, you've gotten our attention, and now's the part where you give us 10 easy steps, right? Maybe 5 steps for laying aside immaturity, and 5 for truly living. Lay it on us, we're all ears. Tell us how wisdom works. In our information-soaked lives, that's how we tend to expect these things to work. But Proverbs isn't a top 10 list or a polished blog post. It doesn't come with step-by-step instructions and a promised outcome in 30 days or your money back. Because really, wisdom doesn't work that way. And we know this. She simply invites. And beyond that, what happens is very hard to describe. It's much easier to think about wise people. So can you think of someone whom you would describe as wise? Someone you've known? I can imagine that there are pictures of grandparents and godparents and friends and mentors popping up to mind all over the room. This gathering of people of wisdom, and I hope you'll maybe talk about those people a little bit today sometime. Maybe at coffee hour or later on. I don't know all those people that you're thinking of course, but I'm pretty sure of a few things. I'm pretty sure they haven't all followed the same 10 steps to get there. I'm pretty sure they haven't all had the same set of experiences or read the same list of books or spent time in the same place. But in one way or another, they've listened to wisdom's voice. In the loud clamor of information that's around us, they have listened for something deeper. In just a few moments, Nkuba's parents and godparents are going to bring him to the baptismal font. And we will gather around him and speak words of promise and blessing. They're the same words that we speak over anyone who comes to this font. And as I looked over those words this week, I was struck by just how much information we promise to send Nkuba's way. We ask his parents to be sure that he's taught the Creed, the Lord's Prayer, and the 10 Commandments. It's a lot of information right there. On top of that, we ask to be sure that he has the scriptures in his hands. Yet more information. We'll all speak the Creed together, all speaking this list of statements of what we believe. And there's more information on top. It's important information, don't get me wrong. It's cherished and precious stuff, passed from one generation of faithful people to another. And passing it on to a child is a holy and a wonderful thing for a family and a community to do. But simply knowing information is not what I most hope for in Cuba. I hope he will learn those things, but not so that he can recite them backwards and forwards and someday pass his confirmation class. I hope he will learn them so that he can listen for and trust the living voice of wisdom that is beneath and through them. It's the same voice that claims him this day and that calls out to each of us. The wisdom of God can show up anywhere, on street corners and crowded buses, in voices of friends and in books and in artwork and in churches. It can show up anywhere but for us. It shows up most clearly in the life of Jesus, in the person who shows us what God is like, what God most values, what God cares about. So the wisdom of God is so much more than words on a page. For us, it's the wisdom of lives lived in the image of Christ. And no amount of information can give us that. It's only an invitation that we can accept again and again. That invitation is there for you again this day. So come and have a taste of wisdom's banquet. Come and sit, eat and drink, and live. Amen.
Jesus, Lamb of God, have mercy on us. Jesus, bearer of our sin,